Well, it's that time of year again where I do my top 10 worst games that I reviewed this year. And this time, I kind of went out of my WiiU comfort zone. Because there's PC games, there's like mobile, should be mobile games, but they were actually put on the WiiU eShop. A lot of indie games are on here. Now, I did take a look at those games, and I looked at the games that I've said rent in the past, and I looked back and I said, was I right on that one? So there's a couple on here that I may have had more favor on, or some that I'm just like, you know what? That one really was worse than I thought. So this is going to be my top 10 list of the games that I didn't like this year. I'm trying something new this year with a live kind of, you get to see my emotions and how I feel about it, and it's just not me talking over the game. And like always, this is really just for fun. You can put them in any order you want, but I think you're all going to agree with my number one on both lists. So like I always say, I like to start with the worst first and end the year on a good note. So let's start with the top 10 worst games that I reviewed this year. Number 10. Hello Kitty Kruisers. Now this was a racing game made for kindergartners. Now I did originally say rent, but like always I like to talk with my kids about it, and they're like, you know what, you were out of your mind when you said rent. Because it has such a limited appeal. They're right about that. It's like, the game is really only for kindergartners, and it's not going to keep their interest for very long. So I went ahead and just went and put it at number 10. The boats have the worst controls of them all.
The boats are a car on ice.
Well, yeah, well, they control like a boat. I mean, what do you expect? You're on water. Of course it's going to be slippery.
But you slide out of plates. If you try and turn right, you go towards the left more than you should to the right.
I'm not saying the controls were perfect on the boats, but they controlled like a boat.
Which is not a good thing.
It's more realistic.
Are you saying that this game is very realistic?
Of course it is. It's about a bunch of kitties driving boats and cars.
On rainbows.
Of course. Number 9. Mario and Sonic at the 2014 Sochi Olympic Games. Whoa, that was a mouthful. This game was underwhelming at best. That's a pretty nice way of putting it. It wasn't that good, but really the Mario Sonic games are never really that great. I mean, who on earth thinks a fat Italian plumber is going to outrun Sonic? It's like, I'm going to get you, Sonic! And he's running around. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I already finished the race 3 times. But you know what? This one was a very underwhelming game, but because it was just like Winter Olympics, and the Winter Olympics aren't that great. So even though curling was in this, and you guys know how much I love curling, yeah, I still think it was only worth the number 9 position. Have you been watching the Olympics at all?
No.
Yeah, I haven't really been watching it much at all either. I haven't even been able to watch my curling.
Nobody watches curling.
I hate to break it to you, but curling's awesome in Canada.
But we're in America.
Well, so's Canada.
How is Canada in America?
It's in North America.
It's in the Americas.
I didn't say that. It's true, though. Score 1 for Wiiviewer. So which one did you prefer, this one or the other one?
I prefer the other one because I thought it was more exciting.
Yeah, I actually would agree with you. The problem is that the Winter Olympics, all their events feel a lot alike.
Skiing! More skiing! Oh, you want to ski? More skiing!
I got a better idea. Let's do some skiing with some guns! I know it's a real event, but you know what? It's just weird. There were some really good events in this one, like curling. Mainly because you can even use the gamepad to pick the way that you're going to shoot that, whatever you call it, down the icy path to the circular goal. That's the technical terms for it, right?
Isn't it called a curling stone?
Probably, I don't know.
How did we start talking about curling again? Number 8.
Block Drop You. Now this one was kind of a budget title, so I know some of you out there going, well, it was only $2, how can you put this on the worst list? Just because something's cheap doesn't make it worth playing. And Block Drop You, well, it might have had updates, I have no idea, I haven't gone back to it because it's pretty boring. The overall flow and the way that you went to levels and the kind of luck base of all of it just made me not really like it that much. I mean, you occasionally see it on sale for a really cheap price. And go ahead and pick it up for that price, but really full price of $2? Nah. Block Drop U is about your quest to make sure your red blocks make it onto one of the black ledges. And you have to disappear the blocks below it in order to move it there, as it falls in the way gravity would move it. This game is not easy. You might even have a problem getting past level 3. Every 10 levels, the difficulty level increases. At first it starts off with just the normal gameplay. Then they add in saws to make adequate ledges even harder to find. And then 10 levels later, they have you deal with bouncy blocks, which makes getting your red blocks over to the ledges even harder. And then the game is over. If you're counting along, that is 30 levels. That's it. The creators didn't even mix the two level designs. They could have just put out 10 more levels with bouncy blocks with buzzsaws. But no, they only do one or the other. Number 7. Mario Kart Super Circuit. Now I know. This one's gonna be the one I get the most hate mail on. It's a bad Mario Kart game. The controls are like stiff. It's like trying to drive a tank like this. Must turn. Constantly crashing into sides. The seizure-inducing levels at times. There are 3 options to play in the single player. Mario GP, where you play 4 courses to see if you can come in first place. A time trial, where you'll try and get the best times. And a quick run, which makes it so you can play just one track of your choice. Now, just like the other Mario Kart racing games, this is only half the game. The other half, of course, is multiplayer. The fun of popping each other's balloons in an enclosed environment. So why don't we check out the multiplayer mode? Oh wait, we can't. Since this is a Game Boy Advance game, you're going to need another Game Boy Advance to play the multiplayer. Now there is one other mode you could play, which is the Ghost Exchange, where you could try— oh my god! You've got to be f***ing kidding me. This is complete horseshit. You can't release a game for full price when 2/3 of the options are locked out. That is absolutely ridiculous. Number 6. Poker Dice Solitaire Future. Now this one people are going to probably be saying, what? Poker what in the huh? This game exists? Like, yes, it's another one made by the company who made Block Drop U. And I hate to tell you guys this, there's another one from that company coming up in this list. There's a spoiler for you. Oh, I know I'm sure the people who watch my reviews already know exactly which one I'm talking about. I'm sorry to the company that makes this. It's not a good game. It's not a good game because it's so basic. You get one screen. The thing is just, it's Yahtzee in the space and future and time. Woo! Because you really need to fancy out Yahtzee. The dice numbers are really the only thing that changes. And I found the 2 colors really hard to read sometimes. On the big screen it was fine, but most of the time you're going to be looking at the gamepad, and there was quite a few times where I was squinting to try and make out the number. If you've ever played the game Yahtzee, then you know how to play this game. It's almost the same, with the exception that you're going to have 4 chances in each category. Each of these categories represents a winning poker hand. Well, with the exception of a small straight or 5 of the same number. If you try and use 5 of the same number in a poker game, I don't think it's going to end very well for you. But this is a future game, so maybe in the future, everything's crazier. So why don't we just improve poker by adding 13 more cards? Sure, why not? Number 5. Frederic, the Resurrection of Music. Now this one's on my list for one reason alone. It doesn't work with the WiiU. Now I say that, it works. The game actually works, but it doesn't work well with the WiiU gamepad. Because you need to be able to touch multiple keys, because it goes, what it basically is like a Guitar Hero sort of thing, where you see the music coming down and you have to push the correct key on the keyboard. But it was never really that well done. The whole concept of this title is, what if Chopin was an undead corpse who came back to our world in present time, and he travels the world in a golden carriage and magically shrinking grand piano so he can battle the musical villains of our world? Yeah, there's so many problems with that whole concept. Why is he an undead corpse? Why does he have a golden carriage that flies him wherever he wants? Because I don't remember that in the stories of Chopin. And why does nobody freak out over a musical legend coming back to life? You might be saying, oh, no one knows it's him. Oh, they know. In Japan, they even make him do a concert, and a bunch of people show up and record it with their cell phones. No one's freaking out of this pale, obviously dead man walking around. And of course, when he gets to America, and it's New York, he meets some terrible rap gangsters who decide to rob him. Nice F you to America there, publishers. Number 4. Sonic Boom. This game had potential to be an actually good game. And in the sections that I played it, I could totally see it. I'm like, oh, I can just feel it. I can feel the level just coming. It's like, oh, then it just got to just became dull and just boring. But then Glitches, 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 glitches. I fell through the floor and I didn't die. I phased through walls. I mean, we could jump over, like, doors. It's ridiculous. Who play tested this thing? They gave me a key to a door, I think. They were never clear on this. They told me to find some ancient area and sent me on my way. Great, more vague game elements. So I found a red and yellow glowing door, thinking that was right. So I tried the red one and it wouldn't open. I was really determined to get through this yellow door. I was thinking, this has to be the door. It just must not be working for some reason. So I kept jumping on the button when all of a sudden, I phased through it. I thought maybe for some reason this is the right way to do it. And I kept going through the level and I found out that I skipped an entire section of the game. I found this out because when I went to the save file, I went from 8% done to 15% done. So I went to do the goal of that area, which was find the parts for the boat. But I could never find the final part that he wanted, even though I scoured the area like crazy. That's when I backtracked and realized that I was going out of order. When I went back to the door that I phased through, it was wide open. However, when I saved and went back, it was closed again. So just for fun, I tried to phase my way through it again. And after a little maneuvering, I did it. Again, and then again, and then again. I figured out if you hang off the button and flip over to the door, you could go right through it. I can only get this to work on the yellow door, but maybe with a little more practice, I could get it on the red door too. I don't know. Number 3. The letter 1.0. Now I say 1.0 because there was now a difference between the two. Because the game was panned so much, the creator went back and actually added in stuff and made the game better. This game did exist at one point, and I'm going to put it down as my number 3 pick. Sure, it was $2, but you could barely qualify it as a game. The game gives you hints on what you needed to do. Like, for example, in the open field, you're tasked to find a weapon. However, you come upon rocks, 2x4, sticks, and those aren't the weapons, even though they're littering the area. You can't use those as the weapon because it's not the specific weapon the game wants. Well, game, if you didn't want me using a 2x4 as a weapon, how about you just say, go find the knife, instead of go find a weapon. It was very annoying to have such vague hints. What's even more crazy is that one of the hints is literally, wait for it. And what does that mean? It means do nothing but walk around a room if you want for a minute. And then the game moves on to the next part. The person who made this game actually took the time to make a room for us to wait in for a minute. If I wanted to wait around for the game to continue, I would go search out a DMV simulator to play. With all these crazy grass and rock simulators out there, it's gonna happen, I have no doubt. Number 2. Spiky walls! Now this one was another one from the developers who made the 2 other games that are on this list, Poker Dice Solitaire Future and Block Drop U. I do feel sorry for these guys that it's on this list, but you know what? You make a worthless game, I'm gonna call you out on it. And Spiky Walls is just a Flappy Bird clone without any bit of fun to it whatsoever. You just take one pissed off character and just go through these walls and just make it through for no real reason, and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And it was just like, there's nothing. I mean, there is no reason to buy this game. You're a black rock turd thingy who has sprouted wings and has to avoid the spiky walls that are coming at it. There are small gaps in between the walls and you're going to need to go through them. That's it. That's the entire gameplay. It's a shallow, unfun waste of time that I actually spent 99 cents to experience. To the creators of this game, I know you watch these reviews, as you follow me on Twitter. While your other games are simple at times, at least it looks like you put some effort into them. This one looks like you made it while you're waiting for your Hot Pocket to heat up in the microwave. They're like, oh, we got 5 minutes to kill, let's just make a quick game. Oh, let's release that too. Number 1. Alright, let's look at the envelope. And the winner is... if I can read my own handwriting... Monster High 13 Wishes. This game was the epitome of god-awful. Because the levels were huge, and you might think, wow, huge levels. I mean, everything in this game was huge. But no, they filled it out with nothingness. The graphics looked like they were made in the N64 era. The level designs were terrible. And overall, there is just nothing appealing about this game at all. As you're blindly going through the school looking for a place to start playing the game, you'll come across the most ridiculous pool you'll ever see in your life. It, like everything else in this game, goes on forever. Not only would this thing be a death trap for kids, since it would be very hard to keep a lifeguard to watch all the kids in this pool, but it is crazy deep. It had to be at least 100 feet or more deep. Who builds a pool this big? It's insanity. Anyways, after you walk the long walk over to the portal, because of course it has to be a long walk, you're finally able to go into a level to play. Now, just like everything else, the levels were huge. The first level was just ridiculous. It had long stretches where you had to run to get to your goal. Oh, and those goals? Oh, there's another thing that was just galling. This is basically just a collectathon. You finish the objectives to unlock other areas to explore. Okay, I can run with that. However, you better have a pen and paper ready because these objectives only show you in a scrollable form before you enter the level and list form when you complete it. Normally in these types of games, if you press the pause button or go into a menu, you can see the list of objectives. Not in this game though. It's like the creators are trying to make it harder to play this children's game. Well, that's it, my top 10 worst lists of the year. Now, next up is my top 10 best list that I reviewed this year. I hope you guys enjoyed that list because it's much more upbeat and like, yeah, that game was great. There are some surprises on that list, so you're going to want to come back for it. So I thank you guys for watching. Why don't you guys check out my last worst list, which was 2013, or my worst list of 2012. Well, that would be cool. Or you could just subscribe, which is probably here the whole time. That's right. Enjoy my subscribe button. No.